Hello, and welcome to the 6th episode of Pirated Radio. In this episode, I speak to a lovely gentleman called Doddz, who has done all manner of different things. He's been a street artist, and he's worked in marketing for a number of years, and he now currently works in AR with Facebook. And we touch on a few different things, including his time at university. This is because we both studied on the same course at the same university, so we sort of compare our experiences. He then went on to work at a company called Social Chain, which was founded by a gentleman called Stephen Bartlett, who's just been named as one of the dragons on Dragon's Den. And we talk about his time there and sort of what he learned from that experience. And lastly, we touch on some of the work that he's been doing more recently in the AR space and where he sees that sort of technology going in the future. So, I hope you enjoy. George, press play on the thing. Put the tape in. So for people listening that don't really know yourself, can you give some sort of an introduction to you and sort of what you do?
Yep, so my name is Doddz. I would say that I am a creative. I currently make sort of AR experiences for big brands, but my journey, that's only relatively new in terms of my journey. I've gone from graphic design to art to videography to a lot of other creative outlets, and now I've sort of landed on one that I really enjoy. So yeah, I've been working in the AR space for probably the last 2 years.
Then, so obviously, as you said, you graduated and you worked at Social Chain for a number of years. And I don't know a lot about Social Chain. I'll be perfectly honest with myself. Anything I do know is from sort of when Stephen Bartlett was on the True Geordie podcast, and that's when everything I got from it. And sort of looking from the outside in, it sort of looked as if it was like a Willy Wonka land sort of thing. It sounded like an amazing place to work. And I was looking at the website just before we started this, and I was looking, and you can, on the actual website, you can see there's like a slide and a ball pit and all some stuff like that. So it looks really, really like a really cool place that do incredible, amazing, work that's sort of taking, big leaps forward and pulling people that are maybe in the back end of the industry forward. Would that be a correct analysis, I guess?
Yeah, so Social Chain, sort of my personal experience with Social Chain was that I wanted to be an artist, but I didn't know anything about business. So I found Steve, and obviously I thought he'd make for like a great mentor. So I thought if I could get like close to him, I'm still like 20, 21, I think at the time, spend a couple of years close to him, learn a lot of business from him, then I can go off and kind of do my own thing creatively afterwards. So I came up with the idea of being his videographer. So for Social Chain, for me, it was the office was great, and it had all these like amazing young people in. Like the average age was like 21 when I started, so it was like, just a great atmosphere. But then I was also like traveling all over the world making YouTube videos, which I mean is like a job, is even now is pretty unusual, but I mean, like 5 years ago, it was like just mad. So yeah, I would describe it as a Willy Wonka land as well. Just really fun, just really a lot of hard work. Like obviously, you see all the nice, you see all the slide and the ball pit and all that, but because everyone was so young and it was such a new company at that time, people were like really banded together. So like people were just really working hard, and obviously doing daily videos on YouTube, difficult as well. So there was a lot of hard work, but there was a lot of play as well. So it was a great few years, a great company.
No, that's fair. And I guess on sort of piggybacking on the back of that, I think you touched on sort of being able to balance out the sort of the artistic side of things and then learning more of the business. Is there anything, now that I guess you've got both of them in tandem with each other, is there any advice you give to somebody that's sort of just graduating, that's going into sort of that industry, is there anything you'd advice you'd give them now, knowing that what you know now?
I think a lot of mistakes that people make is they're undervaluing themselves. I'm trying to distill it down into like one piece of advice. I think it's quite difficult. There's so much that I learned during that time. In that first year, like I'd be completely unrecognizable to like the shy, quiet, not very confident person I was before. In that first year, I grew like a lot of confidence, and then in the second year, I really only learned one thing, which was about patience and just I'm really impatient naturally, and that's like a good thing and a bad thing. But just trying to have this like overarching patience, which I still struggle with, that things are going to come good. You are going to make these goals that you set out for yourself. I've been fortunate enough to kind of put myself creatively in a position where there's not much competition. That's probably a good piece of advice, finding some sort of edge or industry that you enjoy creatively, but also is not very busy. So like the augmented reality side, like I had no idea how to do anything 2 years ago. And now I'm in sort of Facebook's partner network, which is their top 100 AR creators globally. So that's like a really quick rise in an industry that's very new. Something like photography, where people have been in it for like 30 years, you wouldn't be able to do that sort of in a 2-year period. So the benefit of that is that being at the top of the industry, then obviously you can charge like a premium. You don't have to maybe compete with everybody else. So creatively, I would try and separate yourself from everybody else if you're just graduating. If you're graduating, I guess if you don't know what you want to do when you leave, which is a similar position to what I was in. I knew I wanted to be an artist, but just what creative outlet, I wasn't sure. That I just tried like a million things. Like I couldn't even list the amount of creative practices I've tried, from like sculpting to poetry to videography, like I said, animation, oil on canvas, like just so many different things. And then that's with a combination of all those experiments, that's how AR came about, because I was making custom denim jackets and I wanted to make the jackets look a bit different. And I just like saw this AR ad and started doing some work with that, and it's just sort of snowballed from there. And like as soon as you find one that you like, or you start getting some good feedback to it, you'll just know naturally that that's the path to go down. So is that who's listening to a podcast? Is it people who are just leaving uni
that's
or
what
just
I'm aiming
around?
at. It's sort of students and things like that, because I think I said on the email across to you, it's sort of, I don't think there's many voices out there for sort of really young creatives, so I want to kind of give them a sort of a place where they can talk about the future of the industry and things like that, because I think if you look at people that are making content, they've done things for like 30 years and they've got experiences to pull from, which is always invaluable for people, shorter down the chain. But in terms of like, AR and stuff like that, if I was to talk to people that have been doing things for numerous years about AR, I think they wouldn't know what I'm talking about and things like that.
And it's difficult in uni to like, obviously uni course isn't going to teach you that, like these new emerging trends. That's not to say that uni's good or bad. I think with uni it really depends on like what you want to get out of it. You could put in a lot of time and effort and get a lot of rewards, and I think I got a lot of reward out of my uni experience. But then I had people in my class who were just kind of just showing up, not putting anything in, and complaining about the uni. And I'm like, that's on you. Do you know what I mean? It's like in terms of what I just mentioned there about like the creativity, I hadn't done graphic design before I started the course. I had just an A-level, but that was like my only 2 years experience in it. I was like rubbish. So I was thinking, well, I've got 3 years here to like learn how to be a graphic designer. So every project I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure I do something different, whether it's a poster this week, a video next week, and animation, just dip my toe in it, because there's no failure. Do you know what I mean? There's no money on the line, there's no deadline, there's no client. Whereas then again, people in my class would just do a poster for every project, and to me that just seems like a waste.
No, that's fair. I think as well with like the stuff you're doing with your sort of educational side, I think there's a million resources now and you do have to kind of handpick them, but you could not even join a university and probably have enough a similar level of education from people on YouTube like Christo from the future and things like that. And especially if you want to get into the bleeding edge tech and stuff, there's people like yourself doing that, which I don't think there's probably no universities in the world maybe even doing that type of thing right now that you'd go in and you'd learn from. It's probably all just people online doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree and I disagree. I'm not saying that uni is good or bad, because it depends on the circumstance, but like, yes, I didn't learn anything about AR at university, but at university I discovered that I wanted to become an artist, and I spent all this time being this anonymous street artist, which got really popular in Stoke on Trent and was like international news, which like built my personal brand. It was like I don't know.
Are you the guy that does the owls?
No, I like those though. But it was like a training camp almost, where I've got 3 years here before I go into the big world of like working to like make a name for myself, figure out what it is that I want to do so I can hit the ground running. And had I not wanted to be an artist, had I not experimented all that, like I would have never come down this path of like I'd probably still be a graphic designer working in an agency, which for me like I hated, because obviously you join like the bottom rung, don't you? And you're like, I was doing like artworking and stuff for Volca Revolution. It wasn't like it didn't seem like the exciting job that I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a sort of I think it's very on sort of the precipice, like it's just starting, so to speak, but I think there's a definite thing of that was a thing, and I don't think it is a thing now. Like you could make a living doing sort of just YouTube channel content now, couldn't you? It might take you a while to build up the audience to where you're earning a living from it, but there's definitely a way of doing that now.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you might need 3 years you'll need 3 years to build up your YouTube channel. Do you know what I mean? You can't really go straight from college to working in augmented reality, or straight from college to, well, maybe some people can, but a lot of people can't. You need a couple of years to, although it's an expensive couple of years, because obviously you've got all this debt, a couple of years to figure out what it is that you want to do and build towards that. So then when you leave uni, you know, you have a YouTube channel with 100,000 subs on or something, and you can just go, or you could even drop out, you know, if it's going that well.
And that's not even touching on like Etsy, Twitch, all different stuff like that. But so as a sort of jumping off at the back of what you do now, can you see more companies on sort of the lower scale of things? Because I guess if you think about AR right now, you think of, you know, Coke, Google, things like that. You'd think of sort of huge companies that are using it. Can you see it more becoming sort of a coming down the ladder in terms of the company, like the size of company that are using it, and can you see more companies sort of taking it on?
Yeah, I think so. It's the natural progression for technology. All these big tech companies are working on AR glasses and stuff. So at the moment, it's expensive because it's new. But I mean, having said that, you know, anybody can make an Instagram filter. You can watch a YouTube video today and make an Instagram filter for your brand. So it is accessible for people because of companies like Facebook. But obviously, the more complex stuff is expensive. But over time, it will definitely become cheaper, because you'll be able to do more as the internet gets better and the technology gets better. The big companies will still be doing the best stuff because they can afford it, but like some of the more stuff that you'd think is advanced today, like big brands, small brands would be able to do in like the near future. Really, what the cost involved in making AR is quite expensive. So if you're like, say, doing like virtual try-ons, for example, the cost of creating models is you have to pay a designer. They can do one a week. You know, it's slow and it's expensive. But when the tech gets better and you've got like an automation process for that, so like machine learning can create these 3D models at scale, and you can do thousands of them in a day, then obviously the cost per product then becomes like a tenth of what, you know, a hundredth of what it is now. And that's when these smaller brands can get on board with it. It's almost like Squarespace and websites. Like at one point, you know, small companies couldn't have websites because they're too expensive to make, and then the tech gets a little bit better and you have people like Shopify and Squarespace, and you can sort of Lego build AR experiences the same way you could Lego build a website today.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll trickle down slowly, won't it, probably? So jumping sort of on the back of that, and I guess this is more just prediction than anything else, but where can you see, knowing what you know, and you know you're working in the AR scene, can you see anything, if you were to jump forward sort of 10, 15 years, where would you see things being then in terms of, you know, I guess experiences between consumers and sort of the companies and things like that? Where is that going to jump to in the future, the next step, so to speak, after AR, VR, things like that?
So what do you say? Are you asking what's coming after AR?
Yeah, just as sort of a prediction. There's nothing set in stone or anything like that. If you were to just sort of imagine things.
So I think you'll.
Sorry if that's a huge question.
No, I'm just thinking about it. In sort of the next 5 to 10 years, I think we'll kind of just slowly stop using our phones and move over to wearables. Every big tech company in the world is pouring billions of dollars into like smart glasses, wearable tech. So it's difficult to imagine that, you know, we're not all going to be using those in the future. I think that combined with sort of smart speakers and voice will be like a real hands-off digital experience. So you won't really need to have a phone with you. I'm not really sure about the future of VR because I'm not really in that space. I personally don't think it's as round the corner as people suspect it is, because I mean, I don't know anybody personally that uses the headset for more than like an hour a week, or it's not being adopted that quick. AR is being adopted a lot quicker, but really the way that we interact with tech as a whole will be like completely rethought. You won't go to like a website. You'll just have like a virtual store inside of your living room, and you'll just be able to browse through these digital items, and it'll be a lot more personalized. So all of those items will be in stock, and they'll be my size. There'll also be sort of my preferences. It'll just be like a better experience. That's the kind of exciting things. I mean, just obviously one of many that I think AR offers going forward. I mean, I guess the only thing that's on the horizon past AR at the moment is Elon Musk's Neuralink, where you have this chip inside of you and you just kind of think and then do. Facebook are also working on a wristband that can like detect the electrons, I think, sent from your brain to your wrist when you want to like lift a finger or move something, and then it can interpret what each electron means. So it can essentially just read your mind, so you can start dictating or typing or sending a message or shopping online with your thoughts. And really, I think the general direction of tech will just be the seamlessness of the interaction. So like with voice, it's so easy just to go like, hey, buy this. I don't have to go online. I don't have to do this. People just want convenience, don't they? So if I can move away from internet researching and buying and move towards a world where I just think it and it arrives, or even if I don't even need to think it, if it just like understands my how much toilet paper I use, how much milk I use, and it just replenishes and automatically purchases them for me. I kind of think that's the general direction that people go in, convenience.
I guess to sort of begin tying things up now, because that's all the questions I really had. It's a bit cliche, but if you could go back to when you very first got into sort of art design, things like that, and you could give yourself a piece of advice, knowing what you know now, what would that be?
I would say to myself to enjoy the street art side of things, because although I kind of knew it was unusual, I didn't think I particularly understood I was going out at night and living this double life, and then it was being on like the front page of the Sentinel the next day, and I was like 18 years old, and the whole city was trying to guess who I was. Like I just think it was hilarious. Probably like the best couple of years of my life at that experience, and like the way that it ended, and the council made like a tourist attraction out of the street artwork and it was celebrated. I would have just said like, just really enjoy, sort of take it in a little bit more and enjoy it, because I just really loved it. And just you'll just figure all the other I was worrying about like, what the hell am I going to do post uni. I just you'll figure all that stuff out when it comes.
No, that's fantastic then. Thank you for coming on. I guess lastly, do you want to plug where people can find you online and things like that?
Yeah, so I guess Doddz, which is DODDZ, is pretty much all social media channels. I'm on there, but if anybody's got any questions, then they can DM me and I'll usually respond.
Hello, it's just me again. I just wanted to kind of leverage off the back of what Doddz said at the end there, because I think there's a lovely message in it, sort of about doing stuff for yourself. And obviously not everyone's a street artist. I don't mean it like that. I mean it as in, I think it's very important to take some time to create something for yourself. And I mean that as in, I think a lot of the time when you're working in industry and you're working with clients, some of your love can kind of get lost in that. And I think it's really important to take some time, maybe once a week, just to make something for yourself. And I can put money on the fact that you will probably learn more about yourself, your practice, doing something for yourself than you will working for a client. And obviously this might sound a little bit weird if you're in practices where you're always working for a client, music production, video production, things like that. And I think you can still do things for yourself in these industries. You just have to kind of pivot your perspective a little bit. So music production, just make a song. And I know it's not simply just making a song, but you'll learn things in making that song for yourself, because you haven't got the pressure of a client that you would never learn anywhere else. It's the same with design. Normally in design, it's kind of, you're always working for a client, but I think it's super duper important, and it's almost like therapeutic to take some time once a week, twice a week, however long you've got, to design something for yourself, be it a poster, what have you. You just sit for however long you've got. If you're super hectic and you've got a busy schedule, just, put some time in your schedule, be it 30 minutes on a Sunday, to do something for yourself and come up with maybe a concept really quickly, be it like a gig poster or something like that, and do it just for you. Don't do it for anyone else. Let yourself do it. And you may find something in there, maybe a style or something which you really enjoy, that you can then maybe pull out to the point where you can turn that into a career, possibly, because there is careers where there is sort of places in this industry where people go to people for a specific style. And I don't think you're going to learn that by creating work for someone else. That is something you're going to have to learn by doing work which maybe isn't for other people, and it's just for the sake of doing the work. But yeah, make sure to do some stuff for yourself. But anyway, thank you for listening. I hope there was something you could pull from that. Make sure to give Doddz a follow online. He's a lovely gentleman. And he's got a course on AR you can find on his links in his bio. If you want to follow me online, my Instagram is @PirateedMaterial. My website is pirateedmaterial.co.uk. My TikTok is pirateedmaterial also. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a review. It helps a lot, I believe. I don't know. If you're on Spotify, I don't think there's something you can do. Just keep listening. I can't think of any other platforms that this is on. It's on other things, but I can't remember. Thank you for listening. I shall see you next time.